I reckon I was one of the luckiest kids in Australia. I grew up free range in the bush with dogs and horses and chickens, and life was so beautiful and so simple. I had a wonderful childhood. I never anticipated that when I would grow up, all of that would be taken away in a series of traumatic events when I was an 18-year-old kid fresh out of boarding school. Something that I struggled with as a young woman in the bush who had just experienced multiple sexual assaults and trauma in a very geographically remote situation was that there was no help on hand, there were no services, there was nowhere to go and no one to speak to. But what was everywhere and what was prolific and encouraged and abundant was alcohol. And alcohol made it hurt a bit less, and it made me feel braver in a social situation. And I was a very ill-equipped kid who needed to feel a bit braver socially, so I used alcohol to do that. That experience and those traumas and that tendency to go for an extra beer or two at a social function would culminate 2 decades down the track in me becoming a desperately broken, suicidal woman at the age of 40 who had lost nearly everything. What began as a party girl persona and a wild young girl from the bush didn't end as a fun party girl. It ended as a desperately sick, invisible alcoholic who was dying in plain sight of her own community. That's how alcoholism ended for me, because I didn't look like whatever an alcoholic is supposed to look like, you know? It's such a misunderstood, stigmatised disease. These things meant I was a faulty, horrible, dreadful person rather than a very sick person in desperate need of understanding and education and support, none of which was available to me. The defining moment in all of this horrendous mess was connecting with another person who had survived alcohol addiction, who looked and sounded and walked and talked like me. I identified with this person. They shared their story. It made sense to me, and it was like a lifeline. But I battled through and I made it. And the whole time I kept thinking, it's not just me. Something needs to change. Someone needs to do something about this. There is no more powerful voice in the entire universe ever than the voice of lived experience, than the voice of people who have survived something or been through something significant. I love what I do so much because through such a broken story can come such tremendous hope. And what we have proven again and again and again for 7 years now through this beautiful little grassroots bush charity is that through connection and community, we create social change. There comes a time when we need to stop going downstream and pulling people out of the river when they've already drowned. We need to go upstream and find out why they keep falling in. And country people are falling in long before they drown. And sober in the country is my way of doing it better.